Coming to you from deep inside our lofty, heavily fortified bunker, located somewhere in the heart of Middle Earth, the show that doesn't shy away from tough questions or tough answers. Sit back, turn on your brain, and get ready for truth. It's a dirty job, but hey, somebody has to do it.
I don't know what to say other than it is an absolute shocker. It's April what 17th, and I can't believe it. This is the David Allen Show, and David is in the studio with us, and we're weirdly going live on the Facebook or YouTube for a minute. We'll see what happens. Welcome back to Freedom Land.
Yeah, it was. I walked into a grocery store and there wasn't this shame if you're not wearing a mask.
Is it
the
shame?
Peer pressure or whatever.
No, okay. Is it shame? Is that the acceptable choice of whatever? No.
Yeah, probably. I mean, to me, it seems that way. I don't know. I mean, half the population, roughly, give or take 5%, I think, probably is buys in to.
You said roughly half the population?
I would imagine.
Oh,
maybe more.
And again, to round the show out to make it even that much more nostalgic, shall we say? Jay is with us again. How are you?
I am well.
It's about time.
So, yeah, I would have loved to have been in studio, but well, you can tell the story. Maybe
says
because
that.
you guys can't plan. Maybe that's it.
It's got nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
Nothing at all.
Hey, we're gonna go live in 15 minutes. Can you make it?
It was an hour, you whiner. An hour.
Well, it's been at least an hour and a half ago.
Yeah,
so.
I know.
You know, that's a really good point. And it would have worked to come here. So I don't understand your problem.
I could have shown up and then I would have had half an hour to stay. I would have had to come back. My son's coming over
Who cares?
Yay.
What's more, where are your priorities at? That's what I want to know.
No kidding. Yeah. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I want to start off the world has changed a lot since we were together, which I think was January 1 of 2021.
I don't think I was included.
And you were not included deliberately, so don't feel bad.
Shocker.
But the world has changed. We have a new presidential administration that has actually been installed. I think it's probably the best term. We are back to the new normal, and back to the old normal. According to, I think it was Jake Tapper or Chuck Todd. He said in regards, this was a couple weeks ago, to some of these. Apparently, in the last month, we've had 54 mass shootings in America.
Well, how do they define that?
Well,
that's stupid.
No, mass shooting is where I think there's three
two or
casualties.
three.
I think it's 3.
How many are gang related of the 54?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't
Well,
matter at all.
they redefined how mass shooting was used, but mass shooting now just means I think it's 3 casualties.
But it was kind of crazy that I think it was Chuck Todd on Meet the Press. I could be wrong on that, but I think it was. He said that, well, this is our new normal. We're going to be living with again.
So then everybody should arm themselves and they should pump out more ammo.
Okay, so a mass shooting is
Right?
an incident involving multiple victims of gun violence. No widely accepted definition.
Right. They say no widely accepted. But when you say mass shooting, everybody thinks some lunatic like that FedEx idiot going in and, firing up the place or whatever. That's what they're thinking. So it's disingenuous.
According to Time magazine, the media defines mass shooting as 4 or more people shot.
What? That's it? Sorry, having a delay here.
4 or more people shot. That's according to time.com. That is the media accepted definition. But I do seem to recall, I don't remember when this was, but there was a family of 5 that it was a murder-suicide, and I think all 5 were shot, and it was labeled as a mass shooting. But I think David's right, though. It's the image. You get the image of somebody with a rifle in a tower killing a whole bunch of people, or a school shooting, but you don't really think of mass shooting as somebody that goes in and kills their family of 4. Not that that isn't tragic. I'm not saying.
Or there's a gang shootout, or there's a gang shootout,
right.
or.
But it is a narrative, and it is interesting that the narrative began to pop up in the media again quite frequently in January.
All of this is coordinated, and it's all to try to change. No, I'm talking about the media, on how they report what they report, what they say, how they frame it, what the agenda is, what the focus is. All of that is coordinated.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because we're not talking about any kind of federal COVID masking policies anymore. Now it's all about banning magazines that are can hold 10 or more, which my 22 holds 10 rounds. That would be a weapon of mass
destruction. So you're okay then?
At this point.
Oh, I thought it was.
Is it more than 10 or 10 or more?
I thought it was more than 10.
That could be.
But
I don't
know. But if you own it, that's the thing supposedly that Biden is trying to push. If you own it, then you get to keep it, but you can't transfer it to anybody. You can't sell it to anybody. That whole
right. But how long until that changes?
Oh yeah.
How long?
Absolutely.
It just becomes the slippery slope of, you have to go, at some point you're going to go get your permit to carry. You have to register what you have, or your homeowner's insurance becomes invalid if they find out that you've got one of these types of weapons. I mean, in some way I feel like this is going to come around the back door to the rules are going to change in that way.
Well, this is a full prong approach on every single level, trying to make things stick whatever they can. And if this doesn't work, they'll try something else. And it's all about tyranny and cracking down on people, creating a tyrannical society that you believe, you think, you act the way they want you. It's basically Chinese social credit.
So what happens kind of like, does it just continue to control the narrative, you think, from a government standpoint or media standpoint, controlling the narrative similar to, and I know we're going to talk about this later, but vaccines, where we don't hear a whole lot in the mainstream media right now about how people are still coming up positive after being vaccinated or having illnesses after being vaccinated. Are we going to start to see less and less about gun violence from illegally owned guns, but we're going to only see gun violence for legally owned guns? Is it a narrative?
I think so. I mean, I
think you're right.
They want to crack down so that they have complete and total control. And if you comply and you listen and you do what they tell you, you'll be fine, in the sense that they won't harass you if you do everything that they tell you to. Like, I don't think that they want a Soviet type of tyranny. I think they want the China type of tyranny.
Okay, now this next statement is going to be extremely controversial, and I do not mean this as anti-Semitic in any way, but
the Jews did it.
I was going to say, is this not exactly how the Holocaust started? It started under this media propaganda of good intentions and then went south very quickly.
Good intentions from who?
From the government.
Oh, so are you thinking
as far as removing guns, as far as compliance with government policy?
Oh, I think so many people think that the government is the solution to our problems, and then and then you have, a bunch of people in the deep state or whatever in power who think that people are nothing but dumb sheep that need to be controlled, or else they're going to go crazy, or they're not going to move in the direction they want them to move to. I think all of this is a spiritual battle.
Do you think that there are enough people that would be willing, which from a historical standpoint is, 2% need to be willing to stand up? But do you think that there are enough people in the United States in pockets, concentrated pockets, that at some point are going to get fed up enough to stand up to make a difference? Or do you think that will be small pockets of 2%ers that stand up and get squashed?
I don't think. Well, first of all, it's not anybody who wants to go to that level is not organized, and then they do things like the supposed insurrection that happened on the Capitol.
I think that was organized.
Oh yeah, that was organized, but look how it was squashed. Look how the narrative and everything else, came back to hurt them. I think that the people that are going to be hurt the most are also the people that have conservative values, but are not the type of people that are going to want to bring bloodshed. So I don't think that they'll fight. Yeah.
Because I'm not advocating an uprising. I don't even know that I would be willing to stand up as one of those 2%. I think I would protect my own self and my own family, but
But then it comes down to, speaking of vaccine passports or whatever, it comes down to
we weren't speaking about that at all.
Well, tyranny. Yeah.
Oh, tyranny.
Yeah.
Yes,
Speaking of tyranny, for vaccine passports, for instance, say you're against vaccines, at what point are you going to put your money where your mouth is and be willing to absolutely suffer? If they require across the United States that you can't buy food, the whole mark of the, not that this is the mark of the beast, but almost an equivalent, that you can't go on vacation, you can't hold a job, you can't even go shopping unless you prove that you have had this vaccination. And if you have children, at what point are you going to capitulate? I think the vast majority will capitulate if it's, even Christians, because it's not the mark of the beast. They're not telling you to worship Satan or anything like that, but you have to capitulate to the government, or else you'll starve to death, or your kids will not get any medical care or whatever. It's just a slow squeezing of people.
I agree with you in concept and with the powers that be intent. I'm not convinced that this particular vaccine is going to play that role yet. I think that coronavirus offered an opportunity for certain powers to test what their limits could be and how they could drive control. It's kind of like, David, it's kind of like when we go through emergency management testing. You run through the motions to see how things work. And I think this was one of those where I do believe the virus was real. I don't think it was as dangerous as we were led to believe for the majority of people.
You're talking in past tense terms. Good job.
But I do think that it was a crisis that was not put to waste, in which powers utilized it to see how much control they could exert on. I think it started in isolated countries, and then it moved very quickly to be a global control. I think this vaccine is going to be similar, to see how much control they can actually exert, so that in the future, maybe 2 or 3 pandemic or vaccines down the road or emergencies down the road, they're going to understand what went wrong when they were trying to exert too much control and how to adjust.
All right, so not to be a downer here, you're jumping way ahead. We're still on shootings. Come on. You guys have hijacked the show, and I'm tired of it.
Okay.
So, going backward a little bit.
Well, wait a second. No.
What?
No,
Okay,
no.
I'd say that shootings are going to be very similar. I don't think they're going to yeah. So I think David's right. This is about tyranny. And I think that shootings, gun control, I think the idea that they're going to limit, sales of any weapon with a magazine of 10 or more than 10, whatever the rule is, as they define a weapon of mass destruction for, mass shooting purposes. I don't think this is going to be a one and done. This is going to be, let's see how far we can push this. Let's see who pushes back. Yeah. They're going to put this in their 3-ring binder. And I think that, if need be, they'll even shelf this issue and give the win to the conservative group. And then
whoa. Shelf what issue? Shelf what issue?
Well, the same thing like with Clinton, with the assault rifle, the muzzle.
Hey, that
flag.
worked. Just ask the president.
Yeah. Just ask California. I didn't realize this. Did you know that California, on the main highways going into California, that they have checkpoints?
Oh, yeah.
I had no idea.
It's for fruit.
Yeah.
Because you might be bringing in the wrong kind of fruit into California.
Decades.
Oh, yeah. We used to run through that all the time when we went in.
Yeah. Do you have any oranges?
Exactly. Yeah. Right. That was the big one. Oh, yeah.
I remember being a kid and moving and going from Oregon to California to visit family. And
they've had it that long?
Oh, geez. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember being 9, 10 years old and driving to California to see family, and they would ask you to open your trunk to make sure you didn't have oranges in your trunk.
Oh, yeah. There's a whole lot of
Could
thought
you move
that
the body of the whore over? I thought I saw no orange. Okay, you can close it. Move on.
At that time, that was perfectly acceptable.
Right. I remember that, and I've seen videos of people who, I guess, it's illegal. That's an illegal search
to kill whores.
No, to do that.
It should be illegal
because it's stopping your free movement, and you can, if you push it, and you're willing to push, you can you don't have to comply. You can move right along, but you have to be willing to push it with them. Anyway, America has suffered 54 mass shootings. This according to the U.S. Sun, which I think means it's is that a rag? It might be. I'm not sure what the Sun is. Anyway.
Well, there's
the UK. Yeah, right. I think so.
So it's probably the U.S. version of that.
Yeah, according to the top of the page, it is. This story written by a man named John Rogers, interestingly enough, April 16, 2021. That was yesterday. Today, by the way, if you didn't deduce on your own, is the 17th of April. America has suffered 54 mass shootings in just the past month. As a CNN host says, there's a, quote, active shooter situation in the U.S. The shocking statistics were revealed as a gunman opened fire during a FedEx night shift change in Indianapolis, Indiana, killing at least 8 people before he turned the gun on himself.
See, now that's what I would classify as a mass shooting, but...
Right.
Okay.
Anyway.
And where did he get the rifle?
Well, see, this is where it kind of goes interesting. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
President Joe Biden, addressing the latest killings as well as the recent eruption in mass shooting, said in a statement, quote, see, I can't talk like him. Gun violence is an epidemic in America, but we should not accept it. We must act. Too many Americans are dying every single day from gun violence, Biden said in a written statement. It stains our character and pierces the very soul of our nation. We can and must do more to act to save lives, he added. At least 37 people have died in 6 mass shootings in the U.S.
54.
Well, that's what I thought, too. And so, yeah. At least 37 people have died in 6. Maybe, do you have to die?
No.
In a mass shooting to be considered a victim?
Well, let's look at the title, mass shooting.
That's true. You don't have to die. So this is just showing the deaths from six of them. Six of them.
What I'm getting from this is
There-
that
there
there
are-
are a lot of
there are-
highly incompetent shooters out there.
Well, there are
There
48.
should be more than
48
38 dead.
of the shootings clearly didn't result in death. Now, not saying it'd be fun to get shot, but at least 37 people have died in 6 mass shootings in the U.S. since the beginning of March.
Did you know up in St. Cloud every single day there's a mass shooting? Well, okay, no, never mind. I mean, because anyways,
Yeah.
keep going.
Yep. The Gun Violence Archive, which is apparently a link, gunviolencearchive.org, says 147
What's the name of that again?
gunviolencearchive.org.
So they couldn't find the .com. Somebody got the .com
Well, that's
beforehand.
interesting. Or they were an actual nonprofit organization.
They're
and
an
they wanted to look.
organization.
Oh.
They're an organization. They're
Okay.
not commerce.
Yeah. Okay.
And that matters.
So
Apparently.
Okay.
you know
Wow.
that it's reputable and true when you go to the website gunviolencearchive.org, and at the top of the page it tells you evidence-based research since 2013.
Just ask us. We'll tell
Exactly,
you we're right.
Yeah. So, according to this article from the U.S. Sun, the Gun Violence Archive says 147 mass shootings have occurred so far in 2021. I thought it was 54. Oh, that was last month. Sorry. Yes. So apparently there were nearly 100, 90 to be exact, before the last month in the United States of America. Mass shooting is defined where at least 4 people are killed, is what this article says.
Killed?
Killed. That's what it says.
So then, there were how many deaths at the beginning? There were 38 deaths.
37 from 6 of the shootings.
Oh, okay.
So then the presumption is there's a lot more dead from the others they didn't want to talk about. Earlier this month, President Biden rolled out a number of new gun control measures in a bid to stop the epidemic.
Epidemic.
Police named the suspect as 19-year-old Brandon Scott Hole. Scott Hole. After the FBI searched his home on Friday morning. That would be yesterday.
So his initials are BS hole.
He is thought to have...
Usually, you require to get a shot for an epidemic.
That's
No,
a
that's
pandemic.
a pandemic.
No,
And, well, the flu is an epidemic,
an
right?
epidemic is localized. Pandemic is worldwide.
So is there a play on words there that you have to get a shot for something to be a pandemic? Epidemic. Excuse me.
But see, they're calling it a jab, which makes it sound, well, it's less medical.
Okay.
Just shove it in your arm. It's fine. Shut up. Back to vaccines again. Scott Hole is thought to have stormed the FedEx Ground Plain Field Operations Center around 11 p.m., killing at least 8 people. Why at least? Wouldn't you know? Or maybe they're anticipating others may die.
That
So
could
then-
be.
I was
okay,
gonna
that
say
would-
because if
yeah.
there's shot victims that
Yeah.
haven't died yet.
And wounding 5 others. The teenager was found later dead, having apparently turned the gun on himself, police said. A motive for his actions has not yet been given. Now, it's odd because
I think that's odd when you're talking motive from a mass shooter in
What?
this situation.
to say we don't know what the motive is.
Yeah, I mean, do you
Why is that
ask?
odd?
Do you ask a serial killer what their motive was in killing these people? It seems like killing the people was his motive.
But there was an article I saw that they were speculating that he was targeting Sikhs because apparently a lot of them worked there. But then that was the headline. Later in the article, they said, "Oh, we don't know. We don't know what he did."
Well,
So why did you speculate
Yeah,
then?
if you're so unbalanced that you're going to go and kill a whole bunch of people,
Mhm.
I don't. What difference does your motive make?
Right.
Anyways,
Because
Well,
the-
maybe the motive, maybe they're not defining the motive because maybe to them the motive does make a difference. Maybe if there is a motive that the person I mean, if they start defining motive, what if the motive is somebody that it's ethnically charged?
Yes,
What if what if the person has brown skin and they go on a mass shooting and it becomes a terroristic event? But if they're white skinned, the motive is unclear, which feeds into their
I think that
narrative better.
they say that so that they can promote this idea that it was racial based, it was whatever based. I mean, I think that they insert that into the story so that they can come up with some other narrative later on to push forward the national agenda that they have.
Well, could it be that if the motive is listed incorrectly, then the person could be viewed as a victim by some? What if he was bullied by his coworkers and then came back and shot them? What if he had military PTSD and something happened at work that caused a trigger in his trauma? Well, you don't want that motive. So if you just say the motive is unclear, then you let the liberal agenda kind of run away with whatever they want, and then the motive can be whatever anybody wants it to be.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Yesterday, a different article. The man who killed 8 people at Indianapolis FedEx facility was identified as the 19-year-old Scott Hole, who authorities said, this is the article I read yesterday. Authorities said was questioned last year by the FBI. Hole's mother had called police in 2020. Now, keep in mind, this kid is 19 today. Well, it was yesterday. Called police in 2020 saying she was worried he might try to commit suicide by cop, said Paul Keenan, special agent in charge at the FBI's Indianapolis field office. According to a police report, Hole was arrested on March 3rd, 2020, when police, quote, seized shotgun from dangerous person, end quote. According to local report from WTHR TV. Quote, behavioral health unit initiated immediate detention, according to the... So he was 18 at that point. Hole had bought the shotgun shortly before he was arrested and taken to the hospital, the report said. A search of Hole's bedroom after his arrest turned up some items that prompted federal agents to question him, Keenan said without elaborating on what was found. But the FBI eventually determined that no crime had been committed, nor that Hole had been talking about any racially motivated ideology. He was not given back the shotgun, authorities said. Officials said the killer was last employed by FedEx in 2020. The company confirmed his previous employment. Authorities are still scrambling to find out why Hole opened fire with a rifle at the plant near Indianapolis International Airport, killing 8 and wounding 5. Quote, I wish we can answer that, Deputy Chief Craig McCarrett said when asked about the motive. At a press conference Friday afternoon, authorities said Hole also had a prior arrest in 2013. So he'd have been 11. It was not clear what for.
Wow.
Federal agents on Friday were seen hauling evidence, including a large box and computer equipment, from Hole's home in a neighborhood.
Second.
Yes.
He's a juvenile.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, where did they get that information? Or maybe I'm just thinking about Minnesota juvenile law, but it seems like in most states,
if the
everything
FBI
that's
is involved,
done before. Yeah, but it didn't say he was arrested by the FBI.
True. But let's see.
How did they get
What was
that
he
information?
arrested for?
But
Didn't
they don't
say.
know.
But not all juvenile records get sealed. Well, they get sealed to the public, but other law enforcement can have access to those.
Yeah, but why would you? Yeah. Yeah.
It depends
anyways.
on who. It depends on who is cooperating. So it could be completely reasonable that the
They could
county
have talked
sheriff.
or they talked to the mother, and the mother said, "Yeah, he was arrested in 2013." That could be. Yeah. Or a neighbor, or somebody else who was familiar with the family could have told this person that.
No, the article says authorities said
Oh.
Hull also had a prior arrest in 2013.
Huh.
So there clearly is an
Well,
issue.
I mean, maybe it's okay in in that state. So
I don't know. So that's that clearly. Let's see where we at here.
the reason why I started talking about tyranny and the rest of it is that whole story is inflammatory and is pushing an agenda. And it even says in talking about an epidemic of mass shootings.
Right.
And then they don't define it. They just say mass shootings, and they don't break it down. It's the same thing that they do with gun deaths and whatnot. And because of so many gun deaths, you ban assault rifles, what they call assault rifles, and then you look into it and realize that very few people are killed by assault rifles.
Right.
It's just a red herring, and they're trying to build up this narrative to try to crack down on weapons. And there's no good reason to take away everybody's weapon unless you either think that the government is the solution or you want to disarm the populace. I can't think of another, I can't think of a good reason to disarm every single person at the same time when there's more and more unrest in the streets and whatnot.
Well, do you think it's about disarming, or do you think it's about exerting control?
Are those different?
I think it's, well, you
No,
can't,
because control.
you can't exert all the control that you want if you have a well-armed populace, So if the desire is control, you're going to try to take away the guns.
Well, what I mean by that is anybody somewhat intelligent and rational. I don't think the left honestly, intelligently, or intellectually believes that legal gun owners are the problem from a killing perspective.
Well, but there is this knee-jerk reaction. I know there was a deputy in our county who she would go to the elementary school to pick up her child, and one of the parents complained that she came to the school and had a gun on her, and she didn't think it was right. And this is a deputy in uniform coming to school.
Right.
So there are people.
Hold on, but that's somebody in the general public that has been fed a narrative to think a certain way. I'm talking about people in power intellectually. I don't truly believe that legal gun owners are the killing problem, but what they represent is a rebellion against the left agenda. So how do you squash that, which is to push an agenda that squashes their victory, not their victory, but their stronghold? Does that make sense? So it's less about it. I mean, it could be about disarming, but I think there's something more to it, because I don't think someone in the left would legitimately believe to their core that they're going to have the ability to come to every household and find every gun that was legally purchased.
Right.
I mean,
Right.
I
Yeah.
don't think they really believe that. So I don't think it's about that, about disarming. I think it's about exerting a level of control and training the public, at least the overwhelming majority of the public, that, like what you just talked about, if you start to teach people that people in uniform with a gun are bad, or people that own a legal gun are bad, you're pushing a level of control. You're not necessarily pushing disarming.
Oh,
Disarming
yeah,
becomes
I don't
the
think-
side effect or the benefit.
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's about controlling the populace, and disarming and all the other things are means to that end, not the end themselves.
But I think disarming is the disarming is the added benefit. That's the benefit that comes from control. I don't think it's about disarming. I think it's about the control. Disarming just happens to be part of that.
Yeah. I'd agree.
We're okay, so we're splitting hairs on semantics. I
Yep.
got it.
Like normal.
Well, at least we have hair to split.
Who are you?
Hey.
Who invited that guy?
Hey. So this article from NBC, NBC News. FedEx killings mark return of mass workplace shootings paused by the pandemic. So this is an interesting take.
Can't really
The
kill
funny
people
thing
on
is they
Zoom.
weren't paused. If you actually do a Google search on 2020 mass shootings, they still existed.
I cannot.
They just-
why would you even bother to question NBC News?
Sorry.
The mass
I don't
shooting
think
at a
you are.
FedEx facility in Indianapolis was the deadliest workplace shooting in over a year. And experts warned Friday that such incidents could increase as more people return.
Oh, let's
Sorry.
encourage.
As more people return to work after a year of pandemic-induced isolation.
Is that self-fulfilling prophecy there? Or are they working towards self-fulfilling
it
prophecy?
sounds like it. 8 were killed in the shooting Thursday night, marking the highest number of deaths in a workplace shooting since February 2020. Around the start of the pandemic in the U.S., when 5 people were slain after a coworker opened fire at the Molson Coors headquarters in Milwaukee. According to statistics compiled by NBC News, don't question their truth, please. Quote, "It's quite possible there will be an increase in these kinds of killings when people who have been working remotely start to return," said James Allen Fox, a criminology professor at Northeastern University in Boston and one of the nation's top.
Wait. No.
Yeah,
I
don't.
called
No,
BS.
you're questioning him again. Yes.
FedEx wasn't working remotely. The warehouse workers weren't like sitting on their video Zoom delivering packages. They weren't.
But see, you missed the point. The quote was from
I'm
James
sure I did.
Allen Fox. "It's quite possible there will be an increase in these kinds of killings when people who have been working remotely start to return," meaning buckle up.
They don't like
That's what
to
that
work.
means. It's buckle up. It's coming. Many suffered economic hardship while out of work, he said.
So I'm
Some-
going to go in and kill everyone.
Well, some who felt slighted by supervisors while working from home will be face to face with their bosses for the first time in
So I'm
months.
going to go kill everyone.
Quote, "Workplace killers see themselves as victims of unfair treatment and want revenge," Fox said. "They generally think other people are getting the promotions, other people are getting the breaks, and somebody has to pay." Christopher Herman, an
Really?
assistant professor at the John Jay College of Criminal Justice, agreed. Quote, "It stands to reason that workplace shootings are going up. Or no, sorry, are going to go up," Herman said. "School shootings are going to go up because the kids are back in school. Same with work situations. That's just going to happen." While investigators have identified the Indiana shooter, they have not yet determined a motive. Quote, "Something tells me this is most likely a case of disgruntled worker who had already been on the job and not somebody just returning to work." The guy didn't work there anymore. FedEx, UPS, Amazon, they were all hiring all through the pandemic. But those employees, especially delivery workers, were under increased stress at the peak of the pandemic, Fox said, and some may carry built-up resentments against their employers as they risk their lives to earn a living.
Risk their lives.
Yep, that was it. The 19-year-old was risking his life. Quote, they weren't staying home where it was safe and sound, Fox said. And you can't kill the company, but you can hurt the company by committing what's called murder by proxy.
So this again, I don't get it. You are attributing normal motives to these people, like it's normal. So it's almost like they're implying that everybody is capable and willing to go shoot a place up.
Pushed hard enough, everyone will do it. Yep. And so we got this thing goes to the guns. Absolutely, because then the guns have to go away. Yeah. 3 people were killed on June 26, 2020, at a Bonomatic warehouse.
Wait.
Whoa,
Hold on.
what?
Before you go further with that, if violent video games are to blame for violence, then do we get to blame NBC for putting the thought into warehouse worker and delivery people's minds that they're risking their lives, so they should lash out?
No. I'll tell you why. Because NBC News is just reporting the truth, okay? Don't question it.
The truth.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the future truth. So they know it's going to happen.
Yeah. You know what? They've been home. No, never mind. Half of them have, yeah. I was going to say, they've been home just reading their poems. So maybe. Yeah. Oh, brother. I could go 15 different directions here. This is the David Allen Show. This is the second episode of 2021, and it's unfortunate that we're already 4 months in to this year. Now.
4 months?
Well, yeah.
No. Well,
Hello.
3.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was January 1 was our last episode.
Yeah.
So we apologize to all of our 7 listeners, or more. Hopefully there's more of you. I think there is based on the stats, but we don't know. If you would, it would be wonderful if you would throw a little support into the show. We do, hopefully, we will get more of these going, and that is the goal. If you go to the website, davidallenshow.com, that will take you to a page. And on that page, it says a little bit about the show, and it says if you receive value from the show, consider donating to keep it going. If you click on the donate button, nothing will happen. So, don't do that. I want you to go to davidallenshow@gmail.com and just let us know you've been listening. And just say hi. We would appreciate that. davidallenshow@gmail.com is the email address to say hi. So, we'd love to hear from you if you would. All right. Did you know that for the first time, apparently, there has been the first part human, part monkey embryo has been created by scientists in none other than California, despite ethical concerns. Whoa, is this real? Are we real? Now, this has been going on all over the world.
This happens. DARPA has...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So are we to the point where we're going to start... I thought the world was overpopulated, according to Bill Gates. We got too many people here. So why are we making hybrid animals now and humans? Hybrid animals? Hybrid humans.
Probably to test medicine and other things on.
Ah.
That's probably what they're saying.
Right. That's it. Researchers have grown human stem cells in monkey embryos to try and better understand how the cells communicate. Oh, it's just research. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Research.
Maybe it'll be monkey super soldiers.
Oh, good.
You don't have to feed them anything but, I don't know, bananas or something.
Right. Mm-hmm. The controversial embryos were made at the Salk Institute in California. They're scientifically known as monkey-human chimeras.
Mm-hmm.
Now, wasn't the chimera the big problem in one of the Mission Impossible movies? There's
Was it? Yeah.
huh? Who? I think it was,
Right.
wasn't it? The first or second one?
I
Yeah, I
have
think it
no
was.
When
idea.
do ethics? I thought ethics were supposed to play a role in science in some way, weren't they?
Peter Sanger, I think that's who it is. He's an ethicist from like Princeton University. He's an ethicist, and he thinks that it's ethical to kill small children up to the age of like 2 if you decide you don't want one. You know,
Well, I know that there is a place that ethics are subjective, but that seems
yeah, I mean, but what, you know, the question isn't ethics. It is, what is the ethics based on? Is it something objective? Is it something subjective? Is there anything that anchors it to something? Or is it all, you know, fungible and it changes constantly?
Fungible?
Yeah.
So was 1968 Planet of the Apes just a precursor? Yeah, so to show that it could happen. We could have this massive soldier movement of
With any luck,
really with luck. Nice. The where was I at? Where'd it go? Oh brother. Human stem cells, known for the ability to become different types of cells, were injected into macaque embryos in a petri dish. The scientists hope their work could be used to create organs for transplant. Oh, that's it. They're just trying to help the humans.
I don't know why they bother. You just go to China. They'll get some at any time from one of the Muslims out on the western end.
One of the Uyghurs.
Yeah,
It's
one
a
of the
terrible
Uyghurs.
idea.
You know,
That's
they
not
got,
funny
they
at
got
all, but
tons of them. But I mean, anybody who complains about injustice in the world, and yet is perfectly okay with buying something from China,
Oh, well,
You're-
there are no options.
you're a hypocrite.
Yeah, right, but where are your options at? You wouldn't be able to buy much at all if you didn't buy from China, correct?
Right.
Well, so it's just
So
the
is
thing.
anybody how come there isn't a We Are the World for the Uyghurs?
Because they're not the world according to these people.
Yeah.
Clearly. Let's see. Years back, I met an old gentleman, and he,
A gentleman or a gypsy lady?
well, old.
Oh,
Yeah. He was a deep sea welder, underwater welder. And he claimed, I have no idea if it's true, but it's fascinating, so I'm going to assume I'm going to go down the road that he's right, just because it's fun.
just assume
Yeah,
that he's
I'm
right.
assuming he's right. Yeah, I'm playing the game. That's what they say in the Senate when they're grilling someone, and the person says, "Oh, I don't know if that's stat." Then the senator will say, "Well, just play along. Assume that I'm right. I'm not telling you a lie." And then, what do you think about that? If I'm right, whatever. He claimed that Russians have successfully implanted gills in humans so they can go into the water and stay there longer.
Well,
Have you ever seen The Island?
it's not just. I mean, you can put in gills, but that's not enough. You need to have a means to
Right.
to get
Yeah.
the
Yeah. He claimed
oxygen
he
out.
made the claim that what was done. They had done it over there. In a dark lab, of course, but they've done it. I
Okay.
don't know. See, again, it's radically fascinating. Okay, and,
Yeah, they made a movie
So
about
you-
it, a documentary called Aquaman.
well, that was the
Wasn't that a
documentary.
documentary?
I think so. Nice. And just think of the potential for workforce, for underwater work, if you could just be able to breathe. I think it'd be great. So I'm assuming he's right, just because I can. So, have you seen The Island? Speaking of getting
Island of Dr. Moreau.
The Island, it's a movie starring Ewan McGregor and Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, is that the one where they are walking organ transplants for
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
their
Mhm. Yeah, they
they're a clone
They
of
clone
somebody.
people. If you're rich enough, you can get your clone made of yourself. So when you, or if you're ill,
when you're asked to leave the island to go to paradise, they're
Yeah.
actually taking you
Yes.
to kill you and take
no,
all of your organs
to harvest.
because you're not technically
No,
a
you're
human.
no, don't worry.
You
won't
don't have
feel
any rights
nothing.
as a
Nope.
human.
You
But
won't
is that
feel anything.
okay? So ethically, is that any different than raising cattle just for the purpose of beef?
Yeah.
That's the whole point. That's what they were bred for. So whatever.
And well,
Yeah, but
that's what I'm saying. What's the difference?
so well, the
Ethically,
assumption
it is different.
The assumption is cows and people are the same. Is that your claim?
No. The assumption is cows, cattle for beef are raised to be
Eaten.
bred and eaten.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yep.
Okay. Well, if you raise a clone of yourself, that clone would not have existed had you not raised it and created it for the purpose of being harvested for your organs.
But
So-
you have to start from the proposition that all animals, I guess, are the same. Some are just smarter than others, and that all we are animals. If that's the case, and you believe that, then sure. I mean, from their point of view, there's no difference. And I think that the people in the highest levels of the government and business and people you don't even know about but have incredible amount of power view humanity in that way. So when they do what they do, they don't think anything of it. You know, they're not caught up with any type of guilt for killing people or ruining people because you do it to a dog. If a dog gets sick, you put it down. If you know, like your point, if you like beef, you raise cattle. So who cares if a cow
Right.
dies?
Who does care? That's the question. Because they taste good.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm with you there.
There you go. Mhm. All right. So the man who wasn't quite good enough to be king of England has died.
R-
So
Right. Well, he never would have been because he wasn't
right.
of the lineage.
Right. So fine.
He was Greek and Norwegian. No, what was it? He was a prince in a Greek prince in some other country, and he gave up those titles to become married
The queen
to the queen.
wipes
Well,
away a tear
princess.
as she sits alone at Prince Philip's funeral. Her Majesty bows her head in front of her husband's coffin as grief-stricken royals say farewell to the Duke in poignant Windsor ceremony.
And you know what she's thinking of? She's thinking of all those wonderful times that she and her husband sat around drinking children's blood infused with adrenochrome
on the yachts
on
of the
their
elite.
yachts.
Wait, Jimmy
Yeah.
Savile was there, so we're fine.
Yeah.
The Queen wiped away tears as she was forced to mourn alone. This cracks me up. She was forced to mourn alone in St. George's Chapel during her husband's Windsor Castle funeral today,
She's the queen.
as she said her emotional final goodbye.
Who forced her?
Boris Johnson. Hello.
Oh, I thought Megan.
They're in lockdown because of the pandemic that we haven't talked about yet.
Yeah.
Her Majesty
She
looked.
has no power.
Who?
The
Boris?
queen, she couldn't.
Oh, the
she
queen.
Can't she can't. No, she has no power.
This is true. All right. The Duke of Edinburgh's casket was covered in his personal standard and carried his sword, naval cap, and a wreath of flowers as pallbearers placed him onto his extraordinary self-designed Land Rover hearse in the castle-packed quadrangle.
Self-designed?
That's what he said. Apparently, he designed that vehicle. Yeah, I heard.
When I die, I wish
use my own hearse. Whatever.
I want a Land Rover hearse, not just any hearse.
After the 8-minute procession and the 50-minute service, his coffin was lowered into the royal vault. A lament was played by a lone piper of the Royal Regiment of Scotland, and the last post was then sounded by buglers
I'm
of
going to say
Phillips.
Jason or Justin Bieber.
Yeah. Bam. The emotional queen had arrived at the funeral as the national anthem played and the royal Bentley stopped next to her beloved husband's coffin, where she poignantly paused for a moment of reflection as cannons fired and bells tolled in remembrance of the Duke. Does the royal family matter anymore? I'm not to dance on anyone's grave, but does it matter about anything the royal family does?
I mean, I think there's a lot of British people that have a lot of attachment to it, and think it's...
We aren't in Britain.
Yeah, so I for the life of me, I don't know why it's such a big deal over here.
Jay, I know you follow the Queen like crazy.
Oh,
What do you think?
Jeez. Yeah. I think that
I thought he was great, before he got AIDS, and then it affected his voice some. Oh, I'm sorry.
that Queen,
I feel so embarrassed.
it's tradition. It's tradition. You can't mess with tradition.
Tradition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the pandemic for a minute, or supposed pandemic. I don't know what to believe anymore. Here's some of the questions that arise in my mind. Why is the only thing that is talked about by the official medical minds that we're supposed to believe? That's it. No one else we're supposed to listen to or believe or anything. It has to be these people, and it's Dr. Fauci. It was Dr. Birx. It's some of these other, I don't know, even some of the local doctors. The only thing we hear from them is you got to get your jab. That's all you got. Just take the jab. That's the only option. You got to shove this experimental vaccine product in your arm, and that's it. That's the only option you have. It's the only way we're going to get to any kind of
herd immunity.
That's the word, whatever that means. Why is that? Why is there never once? There's not ever a mention of, and here's something you can do to be healthier. Here's a way to boost your immune system. Stop eating sugar. Stop doing a bunch of things. Are we just such lazy morons in this country that we don't want to hear anything? We'll take an experimental jab, as they say, because it gets us back to freedom. It's my path to freedom.
No,
Well, okay. Yes. I mean, it's pharmaceutical companies, big pharma, big medical, they push an agenda based off of it's propaganda. We have been fed this line in most of the Western Hemisphere,
Hear,
but
hear.
primarily the United States. We've been fed this line that big pharma they're the answer, their solution. That's why chemotherapy is the first go-to when it comes to cancer. But there have been cures for cancer in other countries for 40, 50 years. I've known people that have gone to other countries. David, you know somebody that went to another country that had, cancer, went through chemo, hated it, left and went to another country and got treatment and was cured. So this is a big pharma thing within the United States.
Well, and it starts in the medical schools too. I mean, because
Well, and it continues on continuing education. And I mean, this is when big pharma and insurance companies drive what happens in the medical world, and they make decisions for patients based off of what makes the most financial sense rather than what makes the most medical and health sense. Things are messed up.
oh, for sure. And you can see it really quick. The bias against more natural things when it comes to like medicinal marijuana. I don't. It is strange. I know somebody who they have a health issue in the family, and CBD oil or whatever has worked for people with this condition in the past, and the doctors
Now,
will
is
flat out
CBD
not
is it-
allow it.
is CBD?
I don't know if it was
This
CBD,
is totally splitting.
but
This is
regardless,
completely
it
splitting
was
hairs. But
something
now I'm just
marijuana
yeah.
related.
I'm just asking for my own education. Is CBD oil considered medicinal marijuana? Are those synonymous or different?
I don't know.
Okay, I don't either.
But it was some form of marijuana, and then you see that in law enforcement too. You see some police officers and sheriffs that are just it's strange how crazy they get about against marijuana. It's as if you legalize medicinal marijuana, people are just going to go crazy and start smoking it in church and everywhere else. They just can't help themselves, and it'll be like reefer madness. There's
Reefer madness. That needs to be a bumper sticker. Reefer madness.
So, anyways, so why would so many doctors and whatnot be against medicinal marijuana? Well, because the pharmaceutical companies aren't producing it. They're not in control of the situation. So I think it is absolutely insane. It's absolutely, if these vaccines are so good, if they are so good, give it to the most vulnerable people rather than forcing everybody to take it. For, like we were talking, for a virus that will negatively impact such a small percentage of the population. The people that are disproportionately affected by COVID-19 are people with underlying health conditions, the elderly, things like that. If it is such a wonderful vaccine, and
It's not a vaccine. Let's be honest about it. It's a medical device that they've never done before.
well, of course it is.
It's never worked.
But my
so they're
point
but they're
is,
calling it a vaccine, and it isn't one.
I totally agree. But if it, from their point of view, that's the reason why I don't back the vaccine at all, because it doesn't make any sense. They're pushing this, and it makes no sense at all why they're pushing it. I was listening to Naomi Wolf. She was talking about this, and she's really concerned that this vaccine passport is going to lead to absolute tyranny. And when she was talking about it, it totally makes sense why they push this quote unquote vaccine on everybody. Why they're not allowing anybody, even if you've had it, you have to get the vaccine, because they're trying to push this vaccine passport to try to crack down, to try to acclimate people. Just like when 911 happened, before that we had no problem going up to the gate. Now, nobody would even think about going up to the gate. We've become acclimated to where it's normal to have somebody fondle you every time you go to the airport. And
that.
if you object to it, you'll get arrested. And at a certain point, that happens a few times, and then it's like, well, I guess that's just the way it is now.
But if you object just a little bit, you can go to a private room.
Oh, jeez.
I don't care about your travel habits, really.
I don't travel. I just go through TSA.
Jeez.
I'm back, boys.
What? They just keep shipping you back, and you keep turning back
I'm
around.
grumpy. No.
But I think, we talked about this earlier with tyranny and gun rights. It isn't about the vaccine. That's not what this is about. This is how far can we push? How much can we test? And they're keeping in my opinion, there are statistics being kept and lessons learned being that are being talked about on how far can we push, what went wrong when we pushed too hard, where do we change how we push. This is, I mean, yes, there's a part of this that they're acclimating. Acclimating. Thank you. They are acclimating the general public. Of course, that's part of this, but they're learning. It's like Pavlov's dog. They're kind of learning how do you, or not Pavlov's dog, but the rats in the maze. They're powers that be are learning what is working and what's not working. This is a process. This is not a short-term game. This is a long-term game, and they're just getting better and better at it. So, and because of how quickly they can collect information digitally now, they're just getting faster at it. It's like that. What was that movie? Was it War Games, the movie where the computer starts to learn so fast that eventually it kind of implodes on itself? Only this time, I don't think it's going to implode on itself.
Well, no. Well, in War Games, what it was at the end, Matthew Broderick played tic-tac-toe with the computer, and it decided and understood that there are some games that are unwinnable, and was able to extrapolate that to nuclear war, and decided to shut down and not destroy the entire world.
So here's an interesting little callback to Prince Philip. In a quote from his 1986 book, People as Animals, he wrote...
He wrote a book! He wrote a book! People are animals!
So as.
Oh, okay.
Similar. Here's the quote. Is that in the event that I'm reincarnated, I would like to return as a deadly virus to contribute something to solving overpopulation.
And they are celebrating him.
Yes. He's great. Yes, that man. Get him. That's why she's mourning alone. That's not nice. Where's it at here? IBM is apparently involved in the collecting. Are
we done with vaccines?
No. IBM is involved in creating the methods apparently for tracking your vaccine status.
Oh yeah.
I believe if we go back in time, IBM was the one who created the method to mark the Jews back when Hitler was... Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah. Look at
no. I'm going to call BS. You're talking about... Okay, wait a minute. International business machines in the 1940s existed as a company, and they were marking... Really? Think that through for a minute. In Germany. Really?
Let's see how long they've been around.
I want to know which conspiracy theory you got that from.
They've been around since it began in 1911 as a computing tabulating recording company.
This from The Guardian.
And was renamed International Business Machines in 1924.
So, this from The Guardian. IBM dealt directly with Holocaust organizers. Newly discovered documents from Hitler's Germany prove that the computer company IBM directly supplied the Nazis with technology which was used to help transport millions of people to their deaths in the concentration camps at Auschwitz and Treblinka.
Okay, fine.
A controversial Holocaust expert claims in a new book published later this week. That's back
right. I stand corrected.
19 years ago.
That's the weirdest thing. But, okay, let me ask a question.
So does that mean... Back up. Just a second. You just said something that I want to have... He said he stands corrected.
Well, technically I sit corrected, but whatever. Okay.
Yes. Okay, carry on.
All right. But...
You know, you're going to have to do a loop.
Right.
No.
And yet, IBM wants to be involved now because they have all these tools to help us make sure, just to to help
Wait,
people know where their
no.
stuff is. You bet.
Alan, not letting
Oh,
you go
stop.
there.
Come on.
No way. I'm not letting you go there because that would be like blaming Remington for the mass shooting. You can't do that.
I'm not saying that it's IBM's fault or that they are, but it's just ironic, perhaps, that
So
they
is it
helped.
ironic that Remington seems to be involved in every mass shooting? Come on.
They
Be
don't.
careful.
They don't for whatever. Anyway, what do you mean? It's not the same.
I'm going to push back on this.
No, if I go purchase, no, I'm not going to, but if I went to purchase
How
a
many
weapon,
mass
it doesn't.
shooters-
No,
how many-
shush.
How many
hold on.
mass
It
shooters
doesn't
have
matter.
an iPhone?
Well-
is it iPhone's fault then?
No,
No, it's Parlor.
but understand this. It would be, it would, if a bunch of mass shooters got together and paid Remington to develop a weapon that will be able to most effectively kill unarmed people, and Remington went along with it and developed it.
Or if Remington developed it and brought it to them, that's a different story. But if I go by, if the Nazis had just gone and, hey, this is a neat little checker system I can add, that'd be one thing. But if they work in collaboration, that's different. So if they're working in collaboration with the powers that be today, trying to figure out how we can track people that are
But
vaccinated or not, that's different.
If they developed software that tracked something and then they used it to track people vaccines, then I think that would align with the Remington scenario that you came up with. But if they are actively developing something specifically for the case of tracking to control people, then that's a different story. But what did so I
Okay,
don't
wait a second
know.
though. All right, let me take. Okay, I understand what you're saying, and I love me a good conspiracy. But I think where conspiracies start to break down is where there are too many people involved. And
I don't
think that it-
I don't necessarily agree with that. In one sense.
Well, I didn't ask your opinion.
Oh, yeah. Of course. Of course you didn't. But when it comes to developing advanced weapon systems and other things, there are a bunch of people were working on the first stealth aircraft for 20 years before it became public, and nobody knew that it existed. You had
Hey,
companies
here's
that
a little tidbit. My grandfather was part of the SR-22 project back in the 70s with Lockheed.
well, cool. But when it comes to a concern,
Okay, so following the logic here, then does that mean that because Microsoft Cloud and Microsoft Technology it has won the contract to host and support Department of Defense and the technologies that Department of Defense is using, does that make Microsoft party to anything that DoD does, good or bad?
no. But if what Alan was saying about IBM tracking people having the vaccines, that is a singular thing. You might have a bunch of people that are working together to track this, but the creating of this software program or whatever it is that they're creating and hardware is for a single purpose. It's not a hidden purpose. It's a single purpose. I think I don't.
What was so there was a company, and I cannot seem to recall, I think it was actually Google, that developed, and I don't want to use the name because I'm not 100% confident it was Google, but there was a collaborative effort to create a mobile tracking software on any Google or iPhone device that would track whether you had come within 6 feet of somebody that had tested positive for coronavirus. So is that the type of thing? So they were specifically contracted to do it. They did it. It's now on pretty much any Apple or Android device. And you can, do you opt out or opt in? I can't remember. Mine's turned off, but is that what you're saying? Are you saying that the company that wrote that software is partly responsible for now tracking, and they're somehow in part in cahoots with the government for, I mean, at what point does free market just say, hey, I can make a whole crap ton of money off of this and I'm going to go for it?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I think you're right. I think probably IBM during World War II was like, hey, we can sell this and make money, probably, for the average account executive or whatever. I personally think that and this is my belief, and I have this belief based upon the behavior of companies around the world and governments around the world kind of tend to move in a certain direction for certain reasons at times that don't totally make sense. I believe that there are people in the highest echelons of power that are working together to try to bring a global government, and that it's a spiritual thing.
Okay.
So
I would agree with that.
But is IBM part of that? I don't know. I think
and
I don't know either. It's just interesting the potential correlation. I'm not indicting anyone.
I would also ask the question, if not IBM, it would just be somebody else that fills that gap. It would be a Microsoft, or it would be, I'm actually very surprised it's not a Bill Gates. It's not a Microsoft.
Well, it probably is somewhere in the background.
It could be, or even, I mean, I would imagine that somebody at the level of Microsoft or Amazon, Bezos, I don't know, I'm sure that they're all involved in some level. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, given the way that you explained it, yeah, I get it. I understand what you're saying.
Speaking of passports, this from the Wall Street Journal Business. Just a short little blurb here. Well, hold on. Where'd it go? Oh, brother. Come on. It's right in front of my face. Airlines are battling a scourge of passengers traveling with falsified COVID-19 health certificates.
Well, just think, there's a company where I live that they're not healthcare, but I know a vendor who comes in and does stuff, sells the company where I work things, and he also sells stuff to this other company. And he said that other company not only was requiring their employees to get the vaccine, but they were also telling all the vendors that if you want one of your vendors to come into our building, they have to take the vaccine. And this guy said not just no, but, well, no. Anyways,
So
do you think that's going to become part of the agenda, that it has to be like your real ID? You're going to have some type of verified government document that
passport,
Why
like
not?
a visa.
Why not? So this article.
So do you think that the Biden administration is playing good cop, bad cop by saying we are not going to force a vaccine passport, and then so they're playing good cop for the time being?
Of course, because, well, first off, to mandate that at the federal level in America would be difficult because of, nothing.
Why?
Nothing makes sense anymore. I know. I
don't think so.
Right.
Look what the CDC did as far as being able.
Right.
They created federal policy,
Yeah.
and they don't even have the authority to do it. And everybody just assumed,
Yes, it's a medical emergency. They have the authority. Are you crazy? The documents are often the COVID-19 test results required by many countries. Yes.
Now I
I'm
remember
going back
what
to
my
fake.
point.
I have a point, but anyway, go ahead.
Sorry, about this business. If there's an opportunity to make money, people are going to move in that direction. So one of them is making fake documents, whatever.
Well,
another thing I think is going to happen is that if you have one business that is going to require everybody to take a vaccine, there are going to be a portion of those people that are going to leave. And some of them are going to be good employees. So if I was a business owner, I would start going, hey, come work for us. We're not going to require you to have a vaccine. Come work with us.
So then,
and you won't.
Yeah, but those companies are going. You have to know that those companies are going to get blackballed.
Oh yes. I mean, they're not going to be able to grow huge, but at least at this point, huge, China. At least at this point, they'll fill in the gap potentially that other company from requiring other companies that are requiring the vaccine will not provide certain services or goods.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it'll happen more and more in states like South Dakota that is more laissez-faire when it comes to vaccines and things like that, where you're going to also have companies that are going to gravitate toward areas that are not so vaccine friendly. Anyways, that's all I was going to say. Sorry for interrupting. Continue on.
Well, the point is they're freaking out because people are selling fake vaccine cards, health certificate. The proliferation of fake health certificates is exposing a logistical blind spot. That's not a blind spot. They're just, everyone thought about it except them. As airlines rush to navigate post-pandemic travel standards and retool their systems to ease compliance and spur demand. Airlines say their staff aren't equipped to handle and police all the new health certifications needed and worry the problem will be exacerbated when some countries also start to ask for vaccination certificates. So what's crazy, according to the CDC, approximately 120 countries are using testing to control entry. The CDC requires flights landing in the U.S. from overseas to verify passengers' health documents, which must show either a negative test result or evidence of recovery from the virus. Many governments have shifted the burden of checking certificates to airlines in much the same way carriers are required to check for proper travel visas before allowing passengers to fly.
Well,
Now,
I think we're going to end up seeing some lawsuits come out of this clearly. I mean, there's going to be some civil rights lawsuits on this, but I think where it's going to filter in, and this is where I think the Biden administration is going to really shine behind closed doors, is loosening backdoor deals with other countries. So loosening up some trade.
So the carrot is you need to start mandating our people have this proof of vaccine,
right.
And so if you do that, then we're going to allow you to trade.
Yeah.
You'll get
Hey,
less.
Mexico, you want us to reduce some of the tariffs?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, China, you want us to reduce some tariffs? Hey, Canada, you start requiring these countries to force international travel vaccine passports, and they can lessen some of the tariffs behind closed doors in some way.
Yeah, I could totally see that.
Yeah.
So this article, they're freaking out because they don't know what to do about these falsified records. However, if you go to on the World Wide Web, www.amlc.army.mil, and then there's some portals down there. I actually searched the interweb. I searched for a CDC COVID vaccine card. And there was one. It's like the third option down. It's a PDF file. It is the document blank for you to print out on your own. Why would you have to? You don't have to make it up. Just print it right from the military. And then for fun purposes, clearly you don't want to, And one of the things they claimed is if you do that, it is a felony, apparently, to use to without authorization, I guess, to print the seal,
Falsify.
the CDC seal, because that's on the card.
Make up a seal that looks
Similar. Yep.
very similar. Dr. Ignatius P. Freely.
Uh-huh.
And, have him sign it. And,
If it works, I made, and I'm going to actually begin to make these. I'll show you guys.
Oh.
Did you, what? What? Oh.
No Agenda show, they were early on in the pandemic. They were talking about these bracelets that look like, a diabetes bracelets.
Yep.
What about, can you buy any of those and you put them on, and then when you go somewhere, you just point at the bracelet?
I don't see why that's wrong, because if someone wants to nitpick, if somebody wants to nitpick your health records in a public setting, you can't do that.
Yeah.
And I've heard some people say, and I don't know if I haven't dug into the actual law to see, but a fair number of people that I've been paying attention to claim that it is a crime to practice medicine without a license in America. And if you are doing, if I go to Costco or I go to get on the airplane and they're checking my temperature, they're doing a medical, they claim that without a mask, I'm a medical hazard. They have to be able to do a medical exam to ascertain that I am an actual medical hazard to them or people around me. If they do that, they are making a medical claim that should only be made by a licensed doctor or medical professional. And so if they come and they force me to check my temperature, and if it's a certain number, then I'm a health hazard. If it's a different number, I'm not. That is them making an actual medical claim, a diagnosis. Oh, you are unsafe because of this number that we read. Well, first off, is that temperature reader calibrated? I was down at the Riverwalk in San Antonio a few weeks ago, and we went into a restaurant to eat. There's a scanner you have to stand in front of, and it zaps your face and checks your temperature. And then if it says green check mark, you're good to go. You can go in. If it doesn't, you have to go back outside. So this iPad essentially is giving out medical screenings.
Yeah, I think the loophole there isn't an official medical diagnosis being provided. They are simply adhering to policy.
Right.
That if your temperature reads on our scale above this figure, then our policy is that you are not allowed to be admitted in. I don't think you're going to be.
But the argument is you are unsafe medically. That's it. It is. It's you're unsafe medically because of this number. Because we have this number.
But if
then are they buying a multi-$1,000 fully calibrated scanner? Because you can buy them. They're not buying them. If they have, the $10 employee doing the check of you to make sure, your mask is not on, all the stuff. They're giving medical standards. Really, they're setting medical. They're determining. They're making a medical assessment of you based on info their company says they have to do. But I think if you actually took this to court, it may not hold up.
I would contend that they are simply adhering to company policy based off of what they believe is a safety standard. And I think a potential precedent could be you can't ride this ride if you are under this height. It's a policy based on a given number based off of what they have been told.
I don't see that as the same thing, because a height issue is a strapping in problem. Like you won't fit in the actual chair if you're under a certain height. It's that part they have, like there's a scale. You have to be here or here in your size in order for the seat belt to hold you in for our insurance company to be liable or not liable. So
Yeah.
in
So
my mind,
so
that's a little
my
different.
analogy
Your
breaks
analogy
down.
broke apart really quick.
Yeah. Okay.
But
So
that's
fine.
fine.
The analogy
Twice. now.
breaks
Yes.
apart,
That's
but
twice.
but but
You could have
I
stayed
don't.
home to get this abuse. You didn't have to.
No kidding. I can't imagine that you're going to get any court to agree that somebody is issuing a medical diagnosis.
What about you can't come in here if you're a Jew?
Well,
Because Jews are
well,
unsafe.
Okay, so let's talk about this show
Do
me
you
your
notice
papers concept. I like
Third
it. Yeah.
time around.
Uh-huh.
Call back.
So,
Sorry.
so thinking about that, show us your papers idea. You got to carry this document with you in order to get in, and the document proves that you are no longer a health hazard, because that's really what it's doing. It's proving that you have done the work, you read the right books, and you put the juice in you. You're good.
But what?
How is it different than saying show us your lineage papers in order for you to get in?
And this doesn't make any sense to me. You're a health hazard if you don't take the vaccine. If you take the vaccine, you still got to wear the mask.
Yeah.
You still got to be 6 feet apart. You still got to do. Nothing changes other than you put an experimental something in your body, and
it's not experimental anymore. It's just not licensed.
Well, wait a second. What?
FDA approved.
It's not FDA approved.
Yeah, it's not FDA approved. But
That
yes,
just means it's not licensed. That doesn't mean that it's experimental. It just means it's not licensed.
Okay. So I
Yeah.
never mind. I don't know. There's a picture I was trying to find to read something.
Hey, I can't. Alan, should I tell the story about my pro-vax, anti-vax?
Yes, you
engagement?
should in just a second. Yes, because
I've only got.
it's
I
good.
got. I've
I know.
only got
Then
a
you
few
have to go.
minutes and I have to go.
Yeah, and I think we need to go too. This show, yeah, whatever.
I
this
gotta go.
This from, I know we all do. We all got to get out of here. It's crazy. This from a piece of paper given to a recipient of the Moderna mRNA shot. It says, has the Moderna vaccine been used before? The answer, they say, says the Moderna COVID-19 vaccine is an unapproved vaccine. That's in the paperwork from them when you get the shot. It says it out loud. It says in clinic.
It says it out loud.
Yeah.
So it reads to you out loud off the page.
Of course,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. It says approximately in clinical trials, 15,400 individuals 18 years of age and older have received at least one dose of the vaccine. That's all they had to do. 15,000 and almost a half people got one dose.
So 15,000 and a midget.
Almost half a thousand. Come on.
Well,
you are
I
going
mean-
to be banned from everywhere for life. You have picked on Jews and midgets.
Well, no,
And-
that one's acceptable.
Why?
Well, because they discriminate against Palestinians.
Okay.
I meant little person.
Pretty soon you're going to start making
I
fun
didn't
of fat
say
people.
that. He put that in. If you read my lips, I said little
Said
person.
something else, yes. All right, Jay, give us your interaction regarding you getting the vaccine. Did you get it? Did you get it? Did you get it? Did you get it?
I was on. I happened to be on a call with a business acquaintance, and the subject of vaccine came up. This was 2 or 3 months ago. I don't remember how long, but it was kind of early in the Biden administration. And this particular person is 30-ish, would be my guess, female. And she has some liberal tendencies when I talk to her, but we don't really get into politics a lot. The background becomes important here in a minute, because as we're talking, somehow the subject of vaccine comes up. I just listen, and she asked whether or not I was allowed to be on the list because of my profession. One of those things. Was I a tier 1 or tier 2? And I basically blew the comment off. I was like, I don't know, no big deal. Well, you are going to get the vaccine. And I said, I don't think so. No. Well, that turned into about a 10-minute conversation of her explaining why the vaccine was different and better and safe, and all of the blah 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 barfy crap about how the vaccine is so much different and completely safe. And finally, after almost 10 minutes of listening to this, I said, I said, I think the best way to consider me is I am not pro-vax and I'm not anti-vax. I'm a pro-choicer. And then she started to continue on a little bit more. And I said, no, I said, remember, I'm a pro-choicer. If you get the vaccine, I could care less. If you don't get the vaccine, I could care less. But my body, my choice, I'm a pro-choicer. And I said, and I assume that being a woman of around your age, you probably understand the language of what being a pro-choicer means. Well, that kind of made her sit back a little bit. But then the next thing out of her mouth was just amazing. She said, but it's not about your choice. She said, getting the vaccine or not getting the vaccine can affect other people and other lives around you.
Heyo.
And I said, I looked
Good
at
work.
her.
Nice way to be right
And
on.
I said, that is a very interesting argument when talking about pro-choice. and the conversation ended there.
Good
The
work.
the subject changed rapidly.
Really
at
quick.
that
And
moment.
now back to that chart you were looking at.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So go to find the interweb, print out your vaccine card, and fill it out just for posterity to put in your safe, whatever you want to do.
Well, you're starting to get. I mean, so I have a son that's military. He was telling me that the military at this point is not mandating the vaccine to active duty.
Correct.
They're encouraging, but not mandating.
Mhm.
And as a supervisor, he was part of a briefing that was told, we are not going to mandate it because it is not an FDA approved vaccine at this point, which I don't know why that makes a difference in the military. I have my shot records from Desert Storm that literally say vaccine classify A, vaccine classified B. But for some reason, they're now stating we're not going to force the vaccine because it's not FDA approved. But he wanted to...
Which tends to maybe make you think they know something.
Could be. He wanted to take leave and go out of state and travel for leave. And he was told that, he said it was worded very carefully that there seems to be a faster response for leave paperwork in the military to be approved when you submit your vaccination paperwork with your leave paperwork.
So it's not mandated, but they may not authorize it without it.
Well, your leave just gets approved much more streamlined if you can show how safe you're going to be.
Well, that makes sense. That makes perfect sense. I mean, really.
That kind of leads into what David was talking about, how we're going at a federal level, we're not going to mandate it, but to travel, you have to get on an airplane, you have to. So they're going to find all of these backdoor ways to require it or make your life easier if you get it.
Yeah.
My sister said in the Arizona area, they're already starting to hear rumblings that sporting event arenas and concert venues are going to offer ticket sales first to people that can prove vaccinations.
That's crazy.
So they're not going to, now this hasn't been official, she said, but she was stating that they are offering ticket sales first to people that can prove vaccination. So they're not technically discriminating. They're just offering a bonus to people that have been vaccinated.
And then if they just happen to fill the arena with those people first, you're out of luck if you don't have it, right?
Yeah.
What about scalping tickets, though?
Wouldn't it be? Can you imagine? Wouldn't
that's
it be
interesting.
great if there was like a massive outbreak in one of these concerts
That was all vaccinated people?
Well,
That wouldn't be great. It would be good PR for
They'd blame scalpers though.
someone.
Well, I mean if it's legal to scalp tickets,
Mhm.
I mean, I would all of my friends that if I wanted to do that, all my friends that got the vaccine, I'd say buy the ticket.
Mm-hmm.
I will pay you back plus 10% for that.
Ah.
Take the ticket and then go out and stand in front and scalp it.
Huh.
I mean,
40% and your firstborn.
yeah.
All right, this is the David Allen Show. We will call that one just
Okay.
because. I have one last thing I want to read because I think it's pertinent to the show.
Okay.
The Democrat Party today announced that it is changing its symbol from the donkey to that of a condom because it more accurately reflects the party's political stance. A condom allows for inflation. It halts production, destroys the next generation, protects a bunch of dicks, and gives you a sense of security while you're actually being screwed. This is the David Allen Show. Thank you so much for listening. Truth, hopefully. Go find it. Don't listen to the mainstream all day long. You can listen there, but then go find other options to see what's out there. DavidAllenShow.com, DavidAllenShow@gmail.com. David, thanks for coming down again. We got to do this more often, clearly.
Yes. Yes.
Jay, we appreciate you jumping onto the boat to get ridiculed and abused by us. Thank you so much.
Give me a little more notice next time.
That's fine. Yeah, we'll get there. All right.